There was a time in my life when I thought success was the answer to everything. If I could just achieve more, if I could just get noticed, if I could just win, then maybe finally I'd feel like I was enough. I remember walking into a room full of celebrities, CEOs, and high performers, people I had admired for years. From the outside, I had worked my way into the place I always dreamed of being. I thought being there would feel like I had finally arrived. But the truth, I felt small. I felt like an imposter. My body was there, but my confidence was not. Have you ever been in a moment like that, where you've done everything you thought you were supposed to do, but instead of feeling proud, you feel invisible? Instead of feeling confident, you feel like you're wearing a mask, terrified that someone might see through it. For years, that was my reality. On the football field, I chased trophies and applause. After my injury ended my dream career, I chased money and status, desperate to prove I was still valuable. And later, when I started to gain recognition, I chased fame, thinking that if enough people knew my name, I'd finally feel peace. But here's the truth: no one told me no amount of achievement can fill the emptiness of insecurity. You can win the game, build the business, collect the followers, and still lie awake at night asking yourself, why do I still feel like I'm not enough? And let me be real with you. I know what it's like to put on that mask every day, to smile when you're hurting, to perform when you feel broken inside, to keep grinding, hoping the next win will finally silence the doubt. But deep down, you know that applause is temporary. Success fades. And if your confidence depends on those things, it will always feel fragile. What I had to learn, and what I want you to understand today, is that real confidence doesn't come from the outside. It doesn't come from the spotlight or the paycheck or the title. It comes from healing the wounds that taught you to doubt yourself in the first place. It comes from the quiet moments when you choose integrity over image, when you keep promises to yourself, when you stop hiding your story and start owning it. Confidence is not about walking into a room and being the loudest voice. Confidence is walking into that same room and not needing to prove a thing. And that realization, it changed my life. It shifted how I saw success. It shifted how I built my relationships. It shifted how I showed up every single day. Because once you build true confidence, success becomes a byproduct, not the goal. So today, I want to take you on that journey. I want to share with you the exact lessons that helped me go from insecure and approval seeking to grounded, confident, and free, because I believe you are capable of the same transformation. And I want you to ask yourself, as you listen, what's really holding you back? Is it a lack of talent? Or is it a lack of belief? Is it a shortage of opportunities? Or is it the story you've been carrying about yourself? Because here's the truth: once you build unshakable confidence, everything else changes. Your career, your relationships, your sense of purpose. It all starts to align. And if you're willing to do the inner work, the breakthroughs you've been waiting for are closer than you think. When I was younger, I thought success was the solution to everything. If I worked harder than everyone else, if I achieved more, if I won enough, then I'd finally feel loved, respected, and confident. That belief drove me for years. On the football field, that meant pushing my body beyond its limits. I lived for the applause, for the headlines, for the validation that came from being the guy who made the big plays. And when it all came crashing down, when I tore my ligament and my NFL dream ended overnight, I was left with nothing but silence. The stadiums were gone. The applause was gone. And I realized something terrifying: without my achievements, I didn't know who I was. Maybe you can relate. Maybe you've poured your whole identity into your career, your grades, your income, or your image. Maybe you've built your sense of worth on the fragile foundation of other people's approval. And maybe deep down, you know what I learned: it's never enough. Because here's the truth: achievement without inner confidence is a trap. It's a treadmill that never stops. You win once, but the high wears off, and suddenly you're chasing the next win, the next milestone, the next number in your bank account or your follower count. And even when you get it, you still feel that gnawing voice inside saying, not enough. You're still not enough. I remember sitting in a room full of entrepreneurs years later, people making millions, people who looked like they had everything. And yet, as we started to share honestly, I discovered that most of them felt the same way I did, insecure, unfulfilled, and terrified that if people saw the truth, they wouldn't be respected anymore. That's the illusion of success. We think success will fix our insecurity. We think money will cure the fear. We think fame will erase the loneliness. But it doesn't. All success does, when it's built on insecurity, is magnify what's already inside you. If you're empty, it makes you feel emptier. If you're broken, it makes you feel more exposed. So let me ask you something. What are you chasing right now? Be honest with yourself. Is it driven by a sense of purpose or by a fear of not being enough? Are you working to create impact or are you working to earn approval? I had to face that question head on, and the answer scared me. I realized most of what I was chasing wasn't about passion or purpose. It was about proving to the world that I was valuable. And the more I chased, the less valuable I felt. That was the turning point. I had to make a decision. Would I keep running on the treadmill of achievement, always exhausted, always unsatisfied, or would I step off and begin the much harder journey of building confidence from within? And here's what I discovered: real confidence, the kind that lasts, doesn't come from what you achieve. It comes from who you become in the process. It comes from integrity, from living in alignment with your values, from doing the right thing even when no one is watching. When you shift your focus from chasing achievements to cultivating character, everything changes. Success stops being an illusion. It becomes an extension of who you are, not a mask you wear to hide your fear. So I'll challenge you with this. Take a hard look at what you're chasing right now. Ask yourself why. And if the answer has more to do with proving yourself than expressing yourself, then maybe it's time to pause and realign. Because no trophy, no paycheck, no title will ever replace the confidence that comes from knowing your worth, independent of achievement. That's where true greatness begins. Confidence doesn't disappear overnight. It's stolen from us little by little, often long before we even realize it's gone. For me, the moment my football career ended was when I realized just how fragile my self-worth really was. I was 23, broke, sleeping on my sister's couch. One day I was training as a professional athlete with my entire identity wrapped up in that dream. And the next day I was injured, unemployed, and filled with shame. But here's the truth: the injury didn't destroy my confidence. What really broke me were the wounds I had been carrying long before football. Growing up, I was dyslexic. I struggled in school. I felt like I didn't belong. On the field, I found a place where I could shine, where I could finally feel respected. But once that was taken away, all those old voices came rushing back. You're stupid. You're a failure. You'll never be good enough. And maybe you felt the same. Maybe someone told you that you weren't smart enough, talented enough, attractive enough. Maybe you were rejected by someone you loved. Maybe you were compared to others so often that you started to believe you were second best. Those experiences don't just disappear. They leave wounds, and those wounds shape how you see yourself. Here's what I want you to hear: confidence isn't about ignoring those wounds. It's about healing them. And healing starts with honesty. For years, I avoided facing my pain. I buried it under achievements, under hustle, under the mask of I've got it all together. But the more I buried it, the more it controlled me. The turning point came when I finally opened up. I remember sitting in a therapy session, sharing things I had hidden for over a decade. The shame, the insecurities, the fear of not being enough. I cried like I hadn't cried in years. And I realized something powerful: the moment you give voice to your pain, it starts to lose its power over you. Maybe for you, healing looks like therapy. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's having a raw conversation with someone you trust. But here's what you cannot do: keep pretending it doesn't exist. Because what you don't heal, you will repeat. And until you confront the wounds that stole your confidence, you'll keep chasing external validation that never fills the void. Let me give you a simple exercise. Take out a notebook and write down the moments in your life when you first felt not enough. Be specific. Who said it? Where were you? How did it make you feel? Then ask yourself, is that story still true today, or is it just an old wound that needs to be released? Healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about reclaiming your power from it. Forgiving those who hurt you, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve freedom. Forgiving yourself for the mistakes you made when you didn't know better. And choosing, day by day, to write a new story about who you are and what you're capable of. Confidence is not pretending you have no scars. Confidence is saying, yes, I've been hurt. Yes, I've failed. Yes, I've been broken. But I've also healed, I've grown, and I refuse to let those wounds define me anymore. The truth is, the most confident people you'll ever meet are not the ones who never struggled. They are the ones who faced their pain, did the hard work of healing, and came out stronger on the other side. So if you feel like your confidence has been stolen, I want you to hear this. It can be rebuilt. It's not too late. And your healing journey may just be the foundation for the confidence and greatness you've been searching for all along. For most of my life, I thought confidence looked a certain way. You walk into a room, you speak the loudest, you take up space, you make sure everyone notices you. That's what I saw growing up. The athletes, the celebrities, the entrepreneurs who seemed untouchable. I thought confidence was about being bigger, faster, stronger, and more impressive than everyone else. And I played that game. I puffed out my chest. I bragged about my achievements. I tried to dominate conversations, to be seen, to be respected. But here's the truth, it wasn't confidence. It was insecurity disguised as confidence. And the more I performed, the emptier I felt. I'll never forget one moment. I was invited to a private dinner with some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. People who had built companies worth hundreds of millions, people who had global influence. As I sat at the table, I expected to see arrogance, dominance, bravado. But what I witnessed shocked me. The most successful people in that room weren't the ones trying to prove themselves. They weren't the loudest voices or the ones hogging attention. They were calm, grounded, humble. They asked thoughtful questions. They listened more than they spoke. They didn't need to be the star of the room because they were secure enough in themselves to let others shine. And that's when it hit me. I had been chasing the wrong definition of confidence. Real confidence is not about proving your value. It's about knowing your value so deeply that you no longer feel the need to prove it. Think about that for a second. How many times in your life have you performed just to be noticed? How often have you exaggerated, faked a smile, or said yes when you wanted to say no, just to be liked? How often have you equated confidence with perfection, telling yourself you'll finally feel confident once you lose the weight, once you make the money, once you reach the milestone? That's not confidence. That's fear wrapped in a mask. True confidence is different. True confidence is walking into a room and being fully yourself, even if that means being quiet. It's having the courage to admit when you don't know something without feeling diminished. It's the freedom to celebrate other people's success without feeling threatened by it. Confidence is humility. Confidence is presence. Confidence is authenticity. And let me tell you something powerful. When you embrace this kind of confidence, people notice. They feel it. Because there's a certain peace, a certain groundedness that comes from someone who doesn't need to perform. That energy is magnetic. People are drawn to it, not because you're trying to impress them, but because you make them feel safe, seen, and respected. Here's the reframe. Stop chasing confidence as performance. Start building confidence as alignment. Ask yourself, am I living in integrity? Am I speaking my truth? Am I showing up authentically even when it's uncomfortable? Because that's where confidence grows. I had to unlearn everything I thought I knew. I had to strip away the ego, the bravado, the desire to be the loudest in the room. And the more I let go of proving myself, the freer I became. And here's the paradox. When you stop trying to be impressive, that's when you actually become impressive. When you stop chasing recognition, that's when recognition finds you. So the next time you walk into a room, I want you to try something different. Don't focus on how to stand out. Focus on how to stand grounded. Don't try to be the star. Try to be present, authentic, and curious, because confidence isn't about being the best in the room. It's about being the truest version of yourself wherever you are. Confidence isn't a gift some people are born with and others are not. Confidence is built just like a muscle. And like any muscle, if you don't train it daily, it gets weak. This is where so many people get it wrong. They think confidence will magically appear once they achieve a big goal. They say, when I get that promotion, then I'll feel confident. Or when I lose the weight, when I hit 6 figures, when I find the right relationship, then I'll finally believe in myself. But that's not how it works. Confidence doesn't show up after the achievement. Confidence is what gives you the courage to pursue the achievement in the first place. And the way you build that confidence is through daily habits, small, consistent actions that strengthen your belief in yourself. Let me share with you some of the habits that completely changed my life. 1, keep promises to yourself. This is the foundation of confidence. Think about it. Every time you tell yourself you'll do something and you actually do it, you reinforce the belief, I can trust myself. And every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken that belief. For years, I was great at keeping promises to other people, but I constantly broke promises to myself. I'd say I'd wake up early and hit snooze. I'd say I'd eat clean and then grab junk food. I'd say I'd work on a project and then procrastinate. And every time, a little piece of my self-trust eroded. Confidence is self-trust. So start small. Pick one promise you can keep every day, even if it's as simple as drinking a glass of water in the morning or walking for 10 minutes. Prove to yourself daily that your word means something. 2, practice gratitude. Confidence doesn't grow in scarcity, it grows in abundance. When you're constantly focused on what you don't have, you're reinforcing the belief that you're lacking. But when you train your mind to notice what's working, what's beautiful, and what you already have, you shift your energy. Every morning, I write down 3 things I'm grateful for. Sometimes they're big things, like an opportunity or a relationship. Other times, it's as simple as sunshine or a good night's sleep. Gratitude rewires your brain to focus on abundance, and abundance breeds confidence. Move your body. This one is non-negotiable. Confidence is not just mental, it's physical. When you strengthen your body, you strengthen your mind. When you stand tall, breathe deeply, and take care of your health, you literally carry yourself differently. People feel it. You feel it. After my football career ended, I fell into depression. And one of the simplest yet most powerful ways I started rebuilding confidence was by moving my body every day. Even if I didn't feel like it, I forced myself to show up, to run, to lift, to stretch. And slowly I started to reclaim my energy, my focus, and my self-belief. 4, speak your truth. People pleasing destroys confidence. Every time you silence yourself to avoid conflict, every time you pretend to agree just to be liked, you betray your own integrity. And that betrayal chips away at your confidence. Start practicing honesty in small ways. If you don't want to go out, say no. If something bothers you, speak up respectfully. If you have a dream, share it out loud. Every time you express your truth, you strengthen your self-worth. 5, learn and grow daily. Preparation breeds confidence. Think about it. When you walk into a test unprepared, you feel anxious. When you've studied and trained, you feel calm. The same is true in life. The more you invest in your growth, through books, courses, mentors, or even reflection, the more prepared you feel to face challenges. I still dedicate time every day to learning. Because the moment you stop growing, your confidence plateaus. Growth keeps you expanding, and expansion fuels belief. The beautiful thing about these habits is that they compound. On their own, they may feel small, but done consistently, they build a foundation of trust, integrity, and belief that no one can take away from you. Here's the truth. Confidence is not built in a single breakthrough moment. It's built in the quiet, daily choices you make when no one is watching. It's built in the mornings when you keep your word, in the evenings when you reflect with gratitude, in the conversations where You choose honesty over comfort. And if you commit to these habits, not for a week, not for a month, but as a lifestyle, you will look back one day and realize that the person you've become is confident, grounded, and unstoppable. Because confidence isn't something you wait for. Confidence is something you create every single day. When I was younger, I thought success was all about what people could see. The trophies, the paycheck, the followers, the validation. I thought if I could stack enough achievements, if I could prove myself loud enough, then the world would finally respect me, and I would finally respect myself. But let me tell you the truth, chasing success from the outside left me exhausted, anxious, and unfulfilled. Because no matter how much I achieved, it was never enough. There was always a bigger goal, a higher number, another milestone. It was like drinking salt water. The more I consumed, the thirstier I became. The breakthrough came when I realized that true success doesn't start outside, it starts inside. Success is not what you accumulate. Success is who you become in the process. I remember a moment that made this crystal clear for me. Years after my football career ended, I found myself building momentum with my podcast. Big guests, millions of downloads, recognition in media. From the outside, it looked like I was thriving. But one night, after an event, I went back to my hotel room, sat on the edge of the bed, and asked myself, why do I still feel empty? And that question shook me, because I realized I had been chasing the same old pattern, success for validation, rather than success from authenticity. I was still trying to prove I was worthy. And as long as that was my motive, no achievement was ever going to satisfy me. So I started asking a different question. What would success look like if it wasn't about proving anything to anyone? What would success look like if it flowed from confidence, from healing, from alignment with my purpose? The answer was powerful. Success wasn't about being famous. Success was about being fulfilled. Success was about creating impact. Success was about living in such alignment with my values that my external achievements became a reflection of my inner growth, not a mask to cover my inner wounds. And here's the paradox. When I stopped chasing fame, opportunities started finding me. When I stopped needing validation, deeper relationships began to form. When I stopped performing, my influence grew. Because the energy you carry on the inside always spills into your results on the outside. Think about it. How many people do you know who are crushing it on paper but are secretly miserable? How many people appear successful but go home at night feeling lonely, anxious, or disconnected? That's because they've built success from the outside in. But when you flip it, when you build success from the inside out, it changes everything. You stop sabotaging opportunities because you feel unworthy. You stop comparing yourself to everyone else because you know your lane. You stop needing approval because you've already given yourself permission to be great. So let me ask you, what's driving your definition of success right now? Is it ego or is it purpose? Is it fear of being overlooked? Or is it the desire to make an impact? Be honest with yourself. Because the motive matters more than the milestone. When you root your success in inner confidence, here's what happens. You pursue goals from clarity, not desperation. You attract relationships built on respect, not performance. You build a career that feels meaningful, not hollow. And you wake up in the morning not just chasing another trophy, but living in alignment with who you are. That's what I mean by success from the inside out. It's not that the external achievements don't matter. They do. But they're no longer the source of your worth. They're the overflow of it. And when you live this way, success becomes sustainable. Because it's not tied to the applause of others. It's tied to the integrity of your own heart. Greatness doesn't happen by accident. It's not reserved for the chosen few. It's built by ordinary people who make extraordinary choices. People who decide to keep showing up, keep growing, and keep believing in themselves even when it feels impossible. But here's the truth, greatness requires confidence. Not the fake kind that comes from showing off or pretending you have it all figured out. I'm talking about the kind of confidence that allows you to step into the unknown, to risk failure, to face rejection, and still keep moving forward. Every person you admire, Every leader, every innovator, every world changer you look up to, none of them were free from insecurity. They all had doubts. They all had setbacks. They all had moments when they questioned if they were good enough. The difference. They didn't let those doubts stop them. They had the courage to take action anyway. I've had to learn this the hard way. When my football career ended, I thought my shot at greatness was over. I was broke, sleeping on my sister's couch, embarrassed to tell people what had happened. I had no plan B, no idea how to rebuild. But what I did have, at least a small spark of it, was the willingness to bet on myself. And little by little, that willingness grew into confidence. It wasn't glamorous, it was awkward, uncomfortable, even humiliating at times. But every time I chose to put myself out there, whether it was walking into a networking event, pitching a business idea, or later, sitting down to interview someone far more accomplished than me, I was building confidence brick by brick. And that confidence became the foundation of everything I've created since. So let me ask you, what are you holding back right now because you don't feel confident enough? Is there a dream you've been putting off until you feel ready? Is there a conversation you've been avoiding, a project you've been delaying, a risk you've been too afraid to take? Here's the truth. Confidence doesn't come before action. Confidence comes through action. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll be waiting the rest of your life. You don't need certainty to start. You need courage, because confidence is the result of doing the thing you once thought you couldn't do. And here's the good news, every small act of courage compounds. When you speak up once, it becomes easier the next time. When you take one risk, the next one feels less intimidating. When you step into the arena again and again, you realize you're stronger, braver, and more capable than you ever believed. This is what greatness demands, that you stop letting fear dictate your future, that you stop waiting for permission, that you stop comparing yourself to everyone else and start competing with who you were yesterday. You want to know the real secret to greatness. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's confidence. The confidence to keep going when you feel unqualified, the confidence to rise again after failure, the confidence to believe in a vision no one else can see yet. And I believe that confidence is inside of you right now. It may be buried under fear, under doubt, under the wounds of your past, but it's there. And the moment you decide to claim it, everything in your life can change. So here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting. Stop overthinking. Stop telling yourself the story that you're not ready, not worthy, not capable. Step into the arena today. Launch the project. Have the conversation. Take the risk. Move forward. Even if your voice shakes, even if your knees tremble, even if fear is screaming at you to stay comfortable. Because the truth is, comfort never created greatness. Confidence did. And when you choose confidence, you unlock the courage to be great. If there's one truth I want you to leave with today, it's this: greatness doesn't live out there somewhere. It lives inside of you. It's not waiting for the perfect moment, the right opportunity, or someone else's approval. It's waiting for you to decide. You may feel like you're behind. You may feel like your past mistakes define you. You may even feel like confidence is something other people are born with, but not you. I've been there. I've sat in that place of self-doubt, wondering if I'd ever amount to anything after losing football, after losing my identity, after losing the life I thought I was supposed to have. But here's what I discovered: the moment you stop letting fear write your story, you take back the pen. The moment you stop waiting to feel confident and instead take action, you start building a new identity brick by brick. And that identity, one of resilience, courage, and self-belief, will carry you further than talent, luck, or even knowledge ever could. Confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's the willingness to move forward in spite of it. And success isn't about fame, followers, or money. It's about showing up every single day with integrity, with purpose, and with the belief that who you are becoming matters more than what the world thinks of you right now. So I want you to ask yourself, what would my life look like 1 year from now if I chose confidence over fear every single day? What doors would open? What relationships would I build? What opportunities would I finally be ready to say yes to? The answer to those questions is your vision of greatness. And it begins not tomorrow, not someday, but right here, right now, with a choice. So if this message spoke to you, don't just listen. Act. Take a step today, no matter how small, toward the life you know you're capable of living. And if you want to keep growing, keep building confidence, and keep stepping into your greatness, then subscribe to this channel. Share this message with someone who needs it. Comment below with the one action you're committing to today, because when you put it into words, you give it power. Remember, greatness is built brick by brick, choice by choice, moment by moment, and it starts when you stop hiding and start believing that you are worthy, capable, and ready. You don't need permission to be great. You already are. Now it's time to show the world